Hi guys, Whitney here. Thanks for joining today. I've got a few other people that are entering in the waiting room, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about building your analysis for your market and your submarket. So, but like before we dive into the content of today's presentation, I just want to let you guys know that I do these webinars to help you understand some fundamentals about real estate, especially if you're just starting out in building your active portfolio, or if you are looking to scale your portfolio. So, maybe you've invested in real estate before, you tried to buy rentals, but got stuck in analysis paralysis and lost your confidence. Or maybe you've invested in a few rentals already and you realize you've hit a ceiling of growth, or you're just so overwhelmed by all the information out there that you just plain haven't gotten started. And if any of these situations apply to you, you are in the right place, because, I work with people that have never purchased real estate before, and I help them build their business the right way. We look at fundamentals and financial fundamentals, life fundamentals that feed into an investing plan, as well as maybe you have a few rentals under your belt and you just hit a ceiling of growth and you don't know where to go to next in your investing plan. If this applies to you, you're in the right place. So this is me and my crazy crew. This was taken about a year ago in Mexico, but this is the reason why I invest in real estate. And I see a dear friend of mine on here. I really wish, Tom, I really wish I'd put up a picture of all of us in Sedona. I didn't know you were going to be on today. So anyways, but that too, just so I can spend time with my family, also travel. These are the reasons why I invest in real estate. I love real estate, but it's the freedom that it gives me. So I started off in 2002 house hacking and live-in flipping, and was able to build up sizable buckets of money, but I didn't have cash flow. I didn't have freedom, and that really annoyed me. And then, my husband kind of joined me in my antics, and as we started to scale our portfolio, doing turnkeys and buy and hold rentals and small rehab projects, we were able to, put together quite a portfolio, that fed us a ton of cash flow. But then we had to figure out how to scale and do that. And where we're at today, we have partnered in over $500 million in real estate, between residential and commercial, like self-storage. We still do a considerable amount of flipping to replenish our reserves, but it was our core portfolio. None of this was possible until we actually got those first 30 properties under our belt. And I'm going to show you, again, this webinar series is meant to kind of peel back the curtains a little bit on exactly how we did this. And we did this all while working, a full-time job, being a wife, a mom, and just, taking care of our family. So again, what makes what I'm sharing today different? Well, it boils down to three things. When you attend these presentations, if you're in our mastermind, or if we're working together one-on-one, it boils down to three things that we focus on. One, you have to have an investing roadmap, okay? You have to know where you're at and where you're going. You have to have 2 points in time. And if you don't have a clear understanding of what it is you're trying to achieve, that roadmap, any path will get you there, guys. What is it, the famous poem by Robert Frost? Also, I've discovered a repeatable system that will help you put the right teams and systems in place. Not only to help you get your time back now and create more cash flow now, but also so you can scale at an easier pace. And then I've also discovered some systematic ways on how to use other people's money in order to accelerate wealth. I'm super pumped. I just came off of interviewing Ryan Lee with Cashflow Tactics. He is a master guru of teaching people how to unlock their insurance monies to invest in real estate. It is certainly mind-blowing, and that is just yet one of those other tactics on how to use other people's money to invest in real estate. But putting all this together, my path over the past 18 years, really the end result is I get 100% choice of my time. I get to spend, I guess, more of my time here at home, homeschooling my daughter, during, this challenging COVID pandemic, but also, travel, see the world when the world opens back up. I have 100% choice on how I spend my time, even spending my time here with you guys here today in helping you educate yourselves. Pardon me, got a little tickle in my throat. So today we're going to tackle how to research a market. Now, I know that just probably does not knock your socks off. You're just like, how is this a secret to investing? Well, when this is probably one of the steps that most early investors actually skip. And it's what so oftentimes actually sets them up for failure. I think it's really easy for people to get sucked into investing in their backyard, and your backyard might be the best place to invest. I'm not saying it's not. However, but it's oftentimes what I find with the investors I work with, they invest in their backyard, but they have a different business goal, and they're where they invest or where they're currently invested doesn't align with that business goal. So we spend a lot of time repositioning assets and kind of rewinding their progress so we can accelerate forward faster. So let's dive into part of the mechanics. So a market. When I talk about a market, I'm talking about an MSA or a major metropolitan service area. Okay. Now there's a whole list of major metropolitan service areas. The ones that are actually designated MSAs, there's a list of them on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website at bls.gov. And that's if you're kind of new, starting to build your portfolio, or if you're looking to divest out of your market, I would pull that list out of the bls.gov website. And that can kind of serve as your basis for your research. Now, we're not going to analyze every single market on there. Okay. We're not going to go nuts like that. I've done it. There's 250 of them. It takes a long time. But these markets are considered our primary business centers. Okay. Now, a submarket's different. A submarket are the smaller cities that outline or right around the major metropolitan service area. So for me, I'm in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder would be considered a submarket of Denver. Denver is the MSA, and Boulder is an outlying community or a secondary market that is within commuting distance, reasonable commuting distance of the primary area. Okay. Now, again, when we start kind of diving in and analyzing markets, we don't want to analyze all 250 major market areas. You can, but it's like a funnel. We want to send some things down that funnel that help you kind of trim this list down. Okay, and first of all, it's knowing your plan. Okay, again, back to one of the core three fundamentals of real estate investing. You have to know where you're going. What are your goals? Okay. Are you investing for cash flow? Are you investing for appreciation? Or do you need a balanced blend of both? Okay. Now, for me, I need cash flow. I want to have a stable income coming in that allows me to have freedom and choice of my time. And I want to continue to have a reasonable chance at appreciation, kind of the icing on the cake, to continue to amplify my portfolio growth. Okay, so I'm going to take a balanced blend of both. All right. You also have to understand your time. Now, we've talked pretty extensively about your goals and your time in previous episodes, but how do you want to spend your time? Okay. Now, this may seem a little, non-intuitive. You're like, hey, Winnie, we're here to talk about markets. But it's true, because if we know our goal, what we're trying to achieve, and how we want to spend our time, that's going to feed into our strategy. So do you want to be active in your investing? Do you want to be on the hunt for all of your deals? Do you want to be entirely passive and invest in somebody else's deal who has the systems already set up? Or do you want to be somewhere in between where you're doing a little bit of active work, but for the large part passive? Okay. Now, knowing your plan, knowing your goals, knowing how you want to spend your time, that is going to help you narrow down your strategy. Okay. It's at this point, knowing your strategy, that is going to help you narrow down what markets you need to be looking at. Okay. So, do you want to be pretty active and flip? Okay. And do development deals? Okay. Those are more appreciation type plays. Do you want to be more passive and buy turnkeys and buy and holds, and you're okay with more with a balanced blend of cash flow and appreciation? Or do you want to be somewhere in between and maybe doing a strategy where you can pick up properties that are below value to capture some appreciation, or and also that cash flow? Okay. All right. Whoop, I got a little box that popped up. Hold on, guys. I will be right back with you. Technology. Okay, I'm back. All right. So once we kind of understand what our goals are, what we're trying to achieve, how much time involvement we really want to truly put into on a regular basis to our real estate portfolio, and what strategies interest us that align with our goals and align with the time that we want to put in, now we're ready to go start looking for the market. Okay. And the market, again, this is a lot of data work. Okay. Not everybody's comfortable with pulling market data, pulling spreadsheets. It's not the most glamorous work. However, I guarantee you, this is the work that makes people money. You see, when Whole Foods puts in a grocery store, when they build out a grocery store, or Starbucks, puts in, a coffee shop, they have researched the market. They know exactly these criteria of what's going on in the market. Okay. And they don't just put their stores anywhere and kind of hope and pray. They actually do this data research. So why shouldn't you? You're building a business. So we want to look for markets where we can stack as much of these investing cards in our favor. So we should look for markets where the population is growing, that people are moving into, because the more people that are moving into the area, one, that's more demand for rentals, and that's more tenants to rent to. Okay. If people are leaving, everybody's trying to compete for that same rental base. Okay. That's not a good business plan. We want to understand areas where jobs are growing. Again, that attracts population growth, but we also want to be in areas where jobs are diversified. So we're, not exactly, I'm not a big fan of investing in military bases. What happens if that one military base closes? Okay, it's kind of a one-horse show. We saw that recently this past year in the COVID pandemic in heavy hospitality areas. And cities that were built around college universities, those areas have been kind of suffering. So we want to make sure there's a good diversification of jobs there. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have a military base. It doesn't mean that you can't have hospitality or you can't have a college, but you just want to make sure the jobs are diversified. We also want to look for areas where incomes are growing, right? So the population's growing, jobs are growing, and people are actually making more year over year, okay? Those top three metrics are huge for me. If any one of those are kind of, trending downward, I want to investigate further. That's kind of a red flag for me. Okay. Because it means I have less people compete, to rent to. If they don't have a job, they're not going to stick around more than likely. And if they're making less money, I have less of a range to work with my rents. Okay. We want to make sure the area is affordable. Okay. Now, this is where a lot of people kind of get stuck in investing in their own backyard. Their own backyard may not be that affordable. Okay. But affordability is a huge key factor for us to be able to be competitive in that market. Okay. So affordability is key. And this can be affordability in the housing prices as well as rents. Okay. We also want to look for areas where crime is stable or decreasing. Vacancy stable and decreasing. Okay, again, a lot of these variables are correlated with each other, and so they tend to trend all in similar directions. But people want to feel safe when they're renting. A Pew Research report just came out that renters actually look at crime more than they do at schools in certain pockets of the United States. That was a very interesting statistic for me. So. Is crime stable and decreasing? Also, to protect your asset, is the state landlord friendly? Is it business friendly? I'm not mean like, the tenants have no rights, but do you actually have right to control your real property? Okay, landlord friendly. Tax friendly. Okay, this is huge. Tax is one of your #1 controllable expenses. Now, do you get to actually control how much tax you pay? No, but you get a choice of where you invest. Therefore, you get to control how much tax you pay. So you want to be in tax-friendly areas, okay, in order to help hold down your expenses. All right. Now, where are you going to find all this data? Okay, this is a lot of variables to collect. Okay, some of this data, like population growth, you can simply Google population of town, whatever town or city, MSA that you're looking at. That's simple. More than likely than not, Google will show you 10 years of data. How is that trend occurring over 10 years? As far as job data and income data, that you can pull off at bls.gov. They have a report on there that's pretty easy to download the job and income data. You can also get compilation of this data at citydata.com as well as niche.com. I really love niche.com. They're a relatively new site. If you're just like, man, spreadsheets are not my thing, this is like hot pokers under the fingernail, you're gonna just Google your population area and look it up on niche.com. It's going to throw out some great summated data for you, as well as some pretty visuals. So it's pretty easy to work with. Another report that I really like looking at, especially for population growing and jobs growing, is the U-Haul Move report. Right now, I think there's been a lot of buzz in the media that people are leaving the cities. I think that is a real issue. In a lot of West Coast and East Coast cities where there's high density areas. I don't think it's a global issue across the United States, but I think it's really worthwhile, if you're concerned about that with the market that you're looking at, take a look at that U-Haul Move report, okay, and see what's actually happening there. All right. Now, here's the key. Again, there's 200 major, I'm going to back it up just a second. There's 250 major MSA areas as defined by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Don't go analyzing 250 areas, okay? Here's how I suggest you do it. Pick, say, like 10 to 15 to do an initial analysis of just these variables. Don't go nuts, just these variables right here, okay? Pick the market you're currently invested in or your own backyard, okay? Maybe they're the same. Pick a few that you are hearing other investors investing in, okay? Because then you'll get some understanding of why they're investing there, and then pick some areas that you just think it would be kind of cool to invest in, all right? And that can kind of give you your starting place in order to move forward. Now, this is very critical. You need to narrow down your MSA areas to 3 or 5 that you want to do a deeper dive on before you move on to analyzing the submarket. Otherwise, you more than likely overwhelm yourself. Okay, so the key is 3 to 5. If you only get down to 2, that's great. But again, it's not a matter of which one you're going to invest in, but which one first. Okay. So once you kind of have your MSAs narrowed down, now it's time to get down to brass tacks. Like, where in that MSA is the product, that flip, that turnkey, that BRRRR that you want to invest in, okay? Now, so in the case of my area, I might settle on Denver as my MSA, but do I invest in Arvada, Westminster, Boulder, Commerce City? Like, I now have to narrow down the submarket of where that property or where my business plan will best work. All right, so here's some data to collect. Okay, you want to collect just the population of the area. Again, we want to know, do we have people to rent to? Are they moving in or moving out? Okay. We want to understand the income of the area, the general income in the area. I look for a household income of about 55K or higher, at least, because I want to make sure that the income earners of that area can actually afford my rental, 3 times gross rents. Okay, so if the gross rent in your area is $1,000, the household income at minimum needs to be $36,000 or more. Now, I want to rent a higher income earners than that. But if the income, or excuse me, if the rents in your area are $2,000 a month, you need to do the math and look for a larger threshold on that household income. All right. Employers, identify the top 5 employers of the area. Again, we don't want this to be a one-horse show. Like if it's say like a heavy medical industry, and trying to come up with an example here, maybe UC Health is really popular here where I live. If it's an area that employs mostly UC Health employees, what happens when that one hospital system is no longer? Okay. We want to identify the top 5 employers of the area. We also want to look at the affordability. What's the affordability of the area from home values and rent? Okay. Are you going to be able to afford to purchase there? Okay. If you can't afford to purchase property, we need to now switch markets again. All right. What's the unemployment rate and how is it trending? Is it going up or down? All right. What's the poverty of the area? Is it going up or down? Crime data, school data as well. Okay, especially if you're renting to, families, you want to understand the schools of the area. Now there is, I didn't put it on the slide, but there are some data sets that you can buy, okay, that will have all that data in them. It's like incomedata.com. That you can buy that. It's essentially all this data that you can get from free from either census.gov, citydata.com, or niche.com, but it can really accelerate your underwriting of areas. So you just want to pay attention to what year that data came from. So make sure your data is at least 2019 or 2018 or newer. Censusdata.gov, census.gov, their data set is now at 2019. So, you can, find more recent data. All right. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put it in a spreadsheet, much like this. So here's kind of some analysis of my area in Dallas-Fort Worth. You guys go ahead and take a screenshot of this. That way you kind of have an understanding of the framework of how to put your sheet together. And you can get really super fancy. What I've done here is I've put in some conditional formatting. I want to, if I wanted to, for sure see a population growth say 10% or higher, I had it conditionally formatted to where it popped up green for me. But anyways, you're simply just going to put these, 6 or 7 data points for your MSA and for your submarket into a spreadsheet and just look across all the different areas. Now that may seem like fun or not so fun, but again, you can do this again for free on the sites that I showed to you, or you can actually just buy the data set at a couple different websites. All right. Now this is the work. Do the work, right? Don't get intimidated. Okay. You can actually analyze an MSA. Break it apart. Let me backtrack a little bit. Don't try to do 25 MSAs in one sitting. If that's you and that's the best how you work, great. Otherwise, commit to a week and analyze one MSA a day, 15 minutes, one MSA a day. At 7 days in a week, you'll have 7 done. You'll have a great idea of where to start investing. And the same thing for your submarket. And guys, don't be afraid to say no. If a submarket's not working out, you move on. Okay. This market research, it's a heavy lift, but it'll actually help you protect your capital investment. Okay. And remember, any business actually does this work before they open a store. So why shouldn't you? And here's the cool thing. Once you do this research once, you now probably are going to identify 3 or 4 markets to go into. And that's probably plenty to get your investment portfolio off the ground. All right, I'm still actually working on the MSAs that I identified in my original research a few years ago. So I've just had to update my data a little bit, but I'm still working on that. So now if you are, this isn't for you. You're like, man, I'm going to pass, hard pass. I don't want to do this. You can actually create some leverage. And let me show you how. You can put together your spreadsheet, and I'll flip back to the previous slide so you can kind of get a framework again. Identify your data sources. Okay, remember those slides, niche.com, citydata.com, bls.gov, census.gov. If you're really good with data, you can pull data there. So create a list of your data sources. Record a video of you putting together 1 or 2 MSA analysis on a free service like loom.com. Okay, put together the video. This is like a little training video, and then outsource it. Give it to a VA, pay $10 an hour and give it to a VA, give it to your kid if they can actually, work a spreadsheet, or maybe somebody else in your family that, you can help, bring into your business, okay? I will tell you, like, my initial research, I did all myself. When I updated all my data this last summer, I did exactly this. I vacated my sheet, I cleared it all out. I recorded a video of me putting together 1 or 2 MSAs, and then I gave it to a VA. 2 days later, I had all my research done. Okay. All right. Now there's the elephant in the room. Okay, you do all this cool research, you identify your MSAs and your submarkets, where you want to be, but there's some other considerations, right? You might actually have some unfair or competitive advantages in a market. One, maybe you live in a market that is, pretty decent to invest in, okay? Either live there or you used to live there, right? That's an unfair advantage. Like, you're gonna know the pockets of the area, right? This is where some people actually might go through this data research and realize, yeah, you know what, my backyard really isn't that bad to get started in. That's totally fair. Maybe you went to school there, or maybe you do business there often enough to understand the market. Those are some unfair advantages that other investors might not have. And this is, there are certain pockets in Idaho that I really love, but I don't know it. And I have a couple of investors that I work with that live in Idaho, and they're like, yeah, don't come here. Like, just forget that Idaho even exists. They really love the area. Okay, they have some unfair competitive advantages. Okay, other advantages that you might have, especially if you're getting started. I know this is kind of a huge hurdle. Like, how do you buy a house outside of your market? Maybe you have friends that live there that you see often, or maybe family, or maybe you yourself travel there. Okay, you have some other like built-in support system. Those are all things to take into consideration. All right, so to sum this all up, there is no such thing as a perfect MSA or a perfect submarket, okay? And when it boils down to you have a tie, I would then go look back and look at your competitive advantages, okay? Is there something in that particular market that would make it rise to the top because you have a competitive advantage there, all right? So I wanna kind of take a big breath and maybe a drink of my chai, and, oh, there we go. There's no such thing as a perfect market. I knew I had it summated somewhere. All right. You guys jump over to the chat box, type in your questions that you might have before we move on. And I'd love to know what your questions are. All right. While you guys are dropping in any questions, is Austin a good market right now? I don't know. I personally have not analyzed Austin in quite some time. I axed it off from my MSAs because of the expense of the market. I wanted to be in a market where the value I could get 1% rents. Now, again, that goes back to you. Let's flip back here real fast. Okay, that takes us all the way back to we have to understand what our goals are, right? Maybe, for me, I'm looking for a balanced blend of cash flow and appreciation. So Austin, no, is not a good market. Maybe you answer this question differently as far as goals, and Austin is a good market. Okay, so it's kind of a loaded question. So you really have to understand, what your goals are. So that's where I think a lot of people get trapped into investing in markets that don't actually work for them. I know that happened to my husband and I when we first started. All of our friends, in our market, cash flow is non-existent. So their only default was to invest for appreciation. We followed right behind our friends. We did exactly what they did. And our first few properties were invested for appreciation. And at the end, I'm like, wait a second, we don't have the cash flow that we wanted. Well, because I didn't go back to this fundamental question. I didn't answer this properly for myself. So start here, okay, before moving forward. Next question, Tom asked, what does BRRRR stand for? So this BRRRR is a strategy. So it's like combining a flip with a buy and hold. So the first B stands for buy. So you're going to buy a property undervalued. You're going to rehab it much like a flip. Then you're going to rent it, put a renter in there. So now you're going more into buy and hold territory. Then you're going to refinance it to pull all of your money out, or as much money as you can. And then you're going to repeat the whole process. So this strategy allows you to combine, you're essentially flipping a property, but to yourself, and putting an income stream on it with a tenant. That way you can pull as much money out of it as possible and just continue to recycle the same funds over again. That strategy is what allowed my husband and I to scale up to 30 properties so quickly. Once you've found your submarket, how are you finding your property managers? How are you separating ones from the average ones? Okay, so we're going to get into this in later scenarios, but I'll give you like a little sneak peek. This is just to only help you identify the where. There's another step after you identify the submarket, and that's to determine, is your product that you want to invest in actually there? Okay, so you can put together a spreadsheet and you can start looking for 50 properties that have been sold in the last 6 months in that area, or 50 properties that are rented, like your strategy that you want to do, that are rentable. Now I say like your strategy, right? Like if you're looking for flips, you're going to look for below value properties. Can you find 50 below value properties that have sold in the last 6 months? If you can't, that's a problem. If you are doing turnkey, can you find 50 turnkeys that have been sold in the last 6 months? If you can't, that might be a problem. All right. When you go in and do that data, you also want to capture who's selling the property and who's property managing the property. That's going to help start feeding, helping you build out your team. But we're going to get into that in greater detail in future videos. How do I find a rent that a particular property is yielding to determine the cash flow? I'm not exactly understanding your question. If you have a property address, you can just go look it up on Zillow.com, or Trulia, and it'll tell you what it rents for. Or you can go to like niche.com to see average rents of the area. Okay, that'll kind of help you understand the value of the house versus the rent. Okay. All right. Yeah, hopefully that was useful for you. But again, I wish I can dive into everything on this like short little webinar series that I do. But my question to you is, if you're just here for some knowledge today, we've come to the end of the educational part of the webinar. If you want help with this, you want to understand how you and I can work together, definitely stick here with me. What is the site where you can pre-buy the reports? It's called like incomedata.com. I don't have the exact website. That was kind of something that I probably should have brought to the webinar, but there's a few different data sets out there for sure. I think you can buy the entire United States for about $500. So, or like local municipalities for like $60 to $70. But if you're looking to get support with building out your financial roadmap and your investing plan, I run a mastermind called the Investor Accelerator. This solution could be for you. And again, in this Investor Accelerator, we work with people that are just starting out in real estate, doing this part-time, haven't done a deal yet, as well as more seasoned investors who already have real estate in their portfolio and are trying to figure out how to scale to that next level. Because usually they've missed one of those 3 key components that I showed to you. And so Here's just a quick peek of what's in the Investor Accelerator. You know, if you think of it as legs on a stool, we've got our educational component with our Investor Accelerator course. We've got support components with our private community and our ongoing office hours that I hold every single week. That way you never go more than just a few days, or even that if you're in the community, leveraging the community without getting your questions answered by either myself or somebody else in the community. And then we meet twice monthly, one to focus on business strategy and growth and accountability, and then another session to help you rapidly build your network and investing knowledge. Okay. I lead educational sessions. I also bring in my network, my team that I invest with to help educate you. So just thousands and thousands of dollars of leveraged information go into this course. And every single system, tool, checklist that I have created, any script goes into this course to really help you shortcut your path to growth. Because the number one thing that when I talk to investors on the phone, they say, I've done a laundry list of like operational items. What they're missing is the implementation and the planning and the execution. Okay, so we will hop on a one-on-one call and plan your business together. I will help you shortcut your path to growth by sharing with you all my deal finders, all my ancillary providers. Again, help you just, really fast track your growth. And, I also share with you my vision and planning process because sometimes that's where people get stuck as well. And so if you want to, feel free to jump over to ashwealth.com/apply if this is of interest to you. We'll hop on the phone and make sure it's a good fit for you before you register. All right. I think I've got to everybody's questions today. I want to thank you so much for joining. This has been amazing. I will do this webinar every Wednesday and topic changes, so make sure you're registered for future webinars. If you're interested to actually see how all these things actually implement, get all my tools and checklists, like again, market research, I share all of that data in the mastermind. Okay, so I share with you the spreadsheet, the calculations, the pretty colors, all that sort of stuff. So you can get access to those tools in the mastermind as well. So hop over to ashwealth.com/apply.